Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's Recon Angling Live. As you see, we got our guest Dwight back there. Dwight Schrute is in the house tonight. Beats Bears Battlestar Galactica.
False.
Yeah, false.
Dude, he's one of the greatest characters that I've ever. Because I try to think, Kramer was classic, but Dwight is, man, there's something different about Dwight.
Yeah, Dwight was different for sure. And I think that's what, here we are in a fishing, live fishing show talking about The Office. But I was listening to what's going on, Scott, the Pat McAfee show today. And they were AJ. Or they were talking to Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins was like, "Yeah, I was going to go on the show. I was going to go watch the taping of the show because I heard AJ Hawk went, and it was really good." And so they all started giving him crap because, like, how have you never brought this up? And AJ's like, "Well, what do you mean I haven't brought this? Like, what?" He's like, "We've talked about The Office all the time. You never once thought to mention like, hey, I was there like watching him when they taped, and not only like it wasn't just like a random episode. He was there when Will Ferrell was there at the same time as it was him and Michael Scott at the same time. Yeah. So they gave him all kinds of grief for that. But yeah, interesting way to start the show tonight. But
I love that. Pat McAfee does a great show.
Yeah, it does. It's inspired us. My buddy Colin, we're going to come out with some shirts through tank fishing called Brontown. So it should be some pretty interesting Brontown shirts coming out here in the near future for that. But for those of you guys who don't know, this is Matt Mascarenas in the Denver area. He's going to join us tonight and talk a little bit about some late ice opportunities still available in Colorado, some ice off stuff, boat stuff, getting your boat geared up. And that kind of leads me into the first, shout out for me anyway of tonight is got accepted to pro staff with Lund Boats through Crawley Marine. So huge shout out to both of those, Lund Boats and Crawley Marine, for, pairing up with us at Recon Angling and myself guiding and it should be, I'm looking forward to it. So I'm already kind of drooling over the boat I'm going to get next year.
That's awesome. Congrats, dude.
Thanks. So, and then I got my brook trout mug here as well.
Is that where'd you get that from? I need a new coffee mug.
I think this was on I think it was like Durango Anglers.
I gotta check that out.
It's North Creek Cabin. So I have a cutthroat one that I got 8 or 9 years ago, probably from when I was in Almont up there by Gunnison, fishing the river up there.
Yep, that's a nice mug. Yeah. Dude, congrats on all that, man. I mean, that's some awesome news, and you couldn't have got involved with a better company.
Oh, no.
Crowley, we're talking about boat prep and whatnot, and that's where it starts for me. If Crowley, I've always taken my boat there. I'm not the best as far. I could do simple things, basic stuff.
Yeah.
But if I have any questions or anything like that, I always take my boat to those guys over there at Crowley, and they help me out a bunch. So I just the fact that you got hooked up with those guys is tremendous, and they're going to take care of you because they always take care of me. And that's kind of where I start, man. I don't know how you do things, because you're when I was guiding, it was boat maintenance and upkeep was more of a almost like a change your oil situation. I was almost once at least once a year service type of situation, maybe even multiple times. And for me, I always like to, before I put the boat to bed for ice fishing, I like to get all that stuff taken care of. Go get the oil change, go get the lower unit worked on, change if I need to get that fluid mixed out, stuff like that. And I know a lot of people do that stuff themselves. I got a Verado, so there's a little tricky, you know, you got to angle it a certain way, then let it drain, then angle it again. There's a lot of kind of stuff to do it. So I would rather have somebody else do that. So I always get my boat squared away before I go ice fishing. I mean, we never really put the boat away here. So because we still have opportunities to go put the boat in, you know, down south or something, but that's kind of where I start, man. I kind of get everything tucked away. So I'm not scrambling now. Cause right now those guys are packed, man. I don't know if you've been down there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's all over the place getting ready to get serviced and worked on. So I like to do that ahead of time so I can just take the boat out when the boat ramp's open and get going. Is that something kind of like you like to do?
Yeah, so usually I like to at least do my oil change at the end of the year, you know, towards the end of the year, and then I can, you know, double check. And what I kind of do now is, you know, guiding, you know, if I'm out guiding throughout the winter, I'll do it again in spring. And that's just to go, you know, using the water, letting it freeze, putting it back in. Yep. You know, this year I didn't have the opportunity. My boat was getting worked on, you know, the majority of the winter, but typically I like to do at least the lower unit stuff first thing in the spring. And the biggest thing with that is making sure that you don't have anything that, you know, any seals that broke over the winter. But like the oil and stuff, I like to do it at the end of the year, you know, get that new oil in. If you're going to let it sit, get that new oil in there, let it run a little bit, and then just have it in your motor, that nice fresh oil over the winter. You know, so it's good to go. And then, you know, just double check stuff, you know, before you take it out the first time. I mean, I almost felt like I got a new boat today just because I haven't had my boat in so long, being able to take it out. And that's why I tell people, you know, I kind of had a nightmare scenario with the boat place in Salt Lake. And, you know, I'm going to leave their name out of it. But, you know, we're all human, but, you know, it's just horrible service. And, you know, from being a guide out here, you know, it's nice, you know, knowing, you know, the only reason I went there was early in the year is because, you know, I thought it was going to be something that a local place here could get me, you know, turned around and back in there. And, you know, I talked to Crawley before I even went in there, and, you know, they were upfront and honest, like, you know, hey, we're about a month out and this and that. And so I went to this other place, and man, it was just a nightmare and a joke. You know, they told me I had a blown head gasket and all this stuff. You know, I needed a new power head. It was going to be $12,000. Oh. Turns out it was just bad injectors. So $1,800 later, I was back on the water. Oh. So that just goes to show for everybody that's out here listening, you know, if you're in the Denver area and you don't know where to take your boat, you know, Crawley Marine, they may take you, lesson learned for me, right? I should have just brought it there, and, you know, it's a 5.5 hour drive, but man, the headache it would have saved me would have been tremendous. You know, having to deal with all that stuff out here. And, you know, here I am, I brought it, you know, a couple days after Thanksgiving, and here it is, you know, almost April, and I'm just now getting my boat back. You know, I had to bring it to another shop. Shout out to, you know, Executive Boats and Yachts in Salt Lake for ultimately getting me hooked up and taken care of in a pinch, you know, but it just goes to show you that, you know, if you don't have a place that you're comfortable bringing it to, you know, reach out to people that, you know, that have boats and stuff like that. And, you know, here with the live show, we're going to be doing some stuff with Crawley that you guys will see. We'll throw some discount codes and stuff up throughout the year, but just a really good place if you're looking to buy, you know, a new boat, not just a Lund, right? But if you're looking for a pontoon boat, a Ranger, they have all different kinds of options over there for you. They'll get it taken care of. I mean, I was watching them unload boats, and they bring them into their showroom and detail them. I mean, it's showroom quality. If you buy a boat there before you pick it up, it is showroom quality before inside and out before you go pick it up. So it was really cool, to actually meet with Dave Crawley and,
Great guy.
with the guy behind Crawley Boats and kind of hear a little bit of history of how it started and kind of where they're going. Their process of building a little bit more so they can take care of more people, and talking to Brent down there, great knowledgeable guy, and then oh man, I can't think of Royce. I almost forgot Royce, but
Royce is great. Royce is he actually sold me my boat, my Lund.
Yep.
He was the one of the last guys that are left from Aurora Marine. Remember Aurora Marine long time ago? He was the one that sold me my Lund. And yeah, he's that Royce is awesome. Brent's awesome. And the mechanics that they got there are freaking tremendous. Like, and then the showroom too, you go in there and there's so many things. If you need anything, you just call them up, call it parts. They got that new big showroom, and they got another building that's a little bit of ways from where that new building is when they used to be on Colfax. Did you ever go down to that Colfax location?
Yep. Yeah. The parts, I wasn't there like when they were there, but I've gone there to get some parts, and they have pretty much everything, it's so crazy because I'll get on Google and look for the randomest stuff for fishing, and it comes from Crawley Marine.
Yeah.
I go to buy it, and I look and see where it's coming from, and it's like, oh wow. So, this was years ago that I was doing this, so now it's, having that right in your back door, and it's pretty great.
It's awesome. And that's like the best place to start is find, if you can't do the stuff yourself, find somebody or find a shop or find a place that can, and that you can trust. But just understand also, and like you mentioned too, that when you gave them a call, and they were up front with you, they were going to be a month out. And that's how it is. Like I noticed a couple guys around town here that got all up in arms when their boat was down and they having a panic attack because nobody would like put them to the front of the line. And it's like, well, you got to understand that there's a whole process that these boat dealers are dealing with, and they can't just shove you in there, and then also on the other side of those things, like, how many times have you have some of these people, offered to go help these guys out, whether it's boat shows, and a lot of these people don't need your help. So I'm not saying if you want to go and get a boat deal, go start asking them, hey, can I go help you at the boat show? I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is that there's a lot of things that go into this, and, and I'm sure you're going to learn this too, or you're going to, when you start having a working relationship with these guys, is that, there's a lot of the working closely with the company and working closely with the dealership or somebody or like this it's just you get those relationships and you build those relationships, and you can even learn how to do some of the stuff yourself. I remember one time I had an issue with the kicker motor, and that's another thing too. I'm going to talk about kicker motors real quick. Those little motors, man, they can give you the most trouble, or they can be the easiest thing to deal with. When I first got my Lund, that kicker motor was a pain in the butt. And I took it down there to Crowley, and Brent came out, and we got a dumpster. We filled it up with water, and he's like, well, let's figure out what's going on with it. And we couldn't figure it out what was going on with it. So finally they got new I can't remember what the heck they got in there, injectors. We got new injectors going. They got them all cleaned up. And then so another thing that I learned, and it was kind of from them, said, hey, why don't you, with these little motors like this, run it all the way out of gas? No, don't leave any gas in there. And I started putting treatment in there, and that's a good thing to do. Fuel sea foam or AIM, or what is it? The AMS or AMP. There's another one there that they have a good fuel treatment though. But those kicker motors too. Everybody kind of forgets about those kicker motors, man. But for the beginning of the year, I'm going to be out trolling for walleye, putting lead core out or planet board or something like that here pretty soon. And I know I'm going to want to fire that kicker up. And if I didn't take care of it, last season, if I didn't run all the fuel out of it or make sure or I didn't run some treatment through it, something like that, there's a chance I could have some problems with it. So don't forget about those little motors too, as well.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the hours that are on, some of us that troll, like Right now I'm, kind of doing soul trolling and jigging and stuff like that. But as the year goes on, it's more trolling just the hours that are on those little motors. I mean, it's nothing to have 3,000 hours on those little kicker motors. You think about that, like, you start getting around 1,000 hours on a big motor, people start freaking out. But, it's not, these motors aren't like the motors, of old, just like, the vehicles we were driving in the 90s, right? The vehicles we drive now are vastly different and made for more miles and harder, wear and tear than stuff that was built in the past. And that's something to keep in mind. And as long as you're doing these oil changes, you're doing these, there's guidelines on these motors for a reason, and then last year, one big thing too is, on these motors is checking your thermostat, which it, is really not that hard on most of these Mercury motors. It's going to be on the starboard side of the motor. So which for those of you who aren't familiar with the starboard side, the easiest way to remember is you're always the star of your boat. So
right.
That's, that's the side you drive on. We lost Matt. We'll wait for him to get back in here. I think he accidentally booted himself. Let's see if we can get him back in here. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Dude, I don't know what happened.
You just totally dipped out. You're like, bye, Felicia. I'm out.
I lost you, and then it was all. I didn't lose nothing. It was weird. That was really weird.
You guys having some weird Denver power fluctuations
the UFOs,
going on?
Man. The UFOs are here. Finally, right?
You got swiped through the portal.
I did.
That's what happened. But on the thermostat, and I found this out last year because, man, I took my thermostat off and I was pretty disgusted with myself. There was sand, all kinds of stuff in there, and if you don't have that thermostat running good on these motors, the temperature doesn't get hot enough, and especially on these Verados, it can cause condensation a lot. Yeah, Tony says it's because of the Red Wings in the background. That's why you had that glitch. And he said, "Go Avs." Yep. See, look at that, Tony. It's got to be.
They're dog crap right now.
Hey, he's back again.
I hold on to it.
You disappeared you went back into the Bermuda Triangle, dude.
See, I don't know what's going on. I'm not losing. I'm not dropping anything over here. I don't know what is going on. Silly Billy stuff.
It's probably it's probably me, but people are laughing about it, so that's good.
It's entertaining. Oh, hey, what's up, Dennis? I just seen the comments now.
Oh yeah,
I forgot those were up there. Yeah, I mean, and then also too, like trailer, man. Like you can have all your ducks in a row with your motor, with your boat, everything, and then you go out there and you bust a seal, comes off, then your bearings, you get water in there.
Oh yeah.
And then you're stressing out. Am I going to make it home? Am I going to make it back to where I need to go? So I don't get, then you're stressing out there. So yeah, get those bearings packed, do whatever you need to do to get all that set up, get your trailer wiring fixed. I got the kids out there, with the turn signals, hey, do I got it here? I got brake lights. So I got this, I got that. So yeah, don't forget about that trailer too. Don't forget about that trailer.
Yeah. Now it's kind of a, kick in the pants is when I got the boat back the other night. So I went down to ISC in Salt Lake. And for those of you watching, ISC kicks off tomorrow in Denver. So that's always a fun show. And, with COVID kind of, in the rear view mirror now, those shows are really cool to just go out and catch up with a lot of people. I mean, I've been going to the Salt Lake ISC show, is way back when, us Dynamic were at all the shows all the time. And we started going to that show. And it was really cool to just talk to some of the guys that, you've seen there for the last 10 years and catch up with them. And, I chatted a little bit with Blake from Radical Glow. I haven't seen him in years, and I don't think that guy ages at all. But no, it was good. But coming back, I went up there, I grabbed my boat, went to the show, and caught up with a few people, and I came back and parked my boat, and came back out the next day. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna hook it up, go pop it in the water, see how it works. And I'm looking over there, and like, man, I got a flat tire, just got home. Like, luckily, and so this is like, I don't know what it is with me and tires this year, but I was going to Cascade about a month ago now, or over a month ago now, and I only made it 20 miles and pulled into the Maverick, got gas. And I have a really good habit, and you guys should do this too. Like, if you have somewhere you habitually stop and get gas, I always do a little walk around, right? I learned that in the military. A lot of people just do it in general, but I do my walk around, inspect everything, kick the tires, touch the hubs and see, if they're warm, especially if you've been cruising on the highway. It's a good way to see if you got issues, with your bearings, if those axles are getting warm. And I go over there and look, and this tire is completely shredded on my snowmobile trailer. And I'm like, sitting there, and I'm looking around, and I look across the street, and there's a tire place across the street. So I'm sitting here, and I'm like, not even going to bother changing this tire. I'm just going to cruise and drive right on, right on over there. So I drove right over there. Guy comes out. Oh, you've had better days. And I'm like, this actually, it's not too bad. I'm on the start of an 8-hour journey right now. And so 20 minutes into it, I blew a tire. So, let's just go ahead and put 4 brand new tires on. And, you gotta account for that stuff, but the same thing with the boat. So, at the end of this year, my boat's going to be for sale. And so, for those of you who might be interested out there watching right now, it does have 5 new tires. So four new tires on the axle that I got the end of last year. I put new tires on it, and then the one I got a pretty good nail that went through it, so that was the culprit there. So I replaced that one, and I was like, I'll just put a brand new spare on there too, because that's one thing I think we forget about a lot too with the trailers is, okay, your spare's on there, but do you have air in your spare? I think you're muted, Matt.
Right. What is going on?
Dude, I don't know.
You're right. 100%. The tires on the trailer tires, I've learned, especially from guiding in South Park, Spinney, in particular, that freaking road tore up. I think I blew out at least 4 or 5 tires just on that road going to Hartselle. I can't remember what road
Dennis says it's operator error.
Yeah. Going back out to, like, even from 11 Mile or to getting over, it's just that road is just disgusting. Yep. I've lost so many tires there. Just in general, like, if you're running on the highway a lot, you got to check those tires. And I like what you said, you learned that in the military, and I drove a truck for the majority of my beginning of my adult life. I drove a truck, and that's something that you got to get in a habit of doing, is walking around the vehicle, doing a pre-trip, post-trip. But like you said, that's a great point, is to anytime you stop, we all do it. We talked about last time I was on, we talked about our snack spots, stop, get snacks and all that stuff. That we still have those. I did it the other day. I was going carp fishing just down the street, and I went and got coffee at the same freaking gas station I always do. So I do the same things over and over again. It's habitual. And if you get into a pattern of checking your stuff, checking your trailer, checking your tires, especially like you said, you can avoid a lot of situations. I mean, I've blown out tires on the way to a long trip, and I blew out my fender and just ripped the fender, blew out the tire, the fender off the trailer, all over there. It's all over the highway. And we got the spare on. And look, what did I do? I gave Crowley a call, gave him my information for my trailer. They had a fender on my doorstep in 2 days. Yep. So, and I was in it, I'm capable enough to put that together. So it was easy peasy, but still it's just like, getting your ducks in a row. And I put that spare on, and that spare was about ready to go, So yeah, go check your tires. Go check all that stuff. There's batteries you got to look at. There's all that. There's all that stuff in the boat. But sometimes people forget the thing that you pull that boat with, the trailer, is it can that can ruin a day of fishing, and ruin
Well,
and maybe you're
not
putting a lot
only
of
that,
money
but
away to try to
now
get a new.
with COVID stuff, it's hard to just get stuff like that. Like at the end of last year, I had one of my sets of rollers just come off my
Oh, I remember you told me about that.
off my trailer, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, my boat looks weird. I'm like, I know I didn't put it on the trailer looking like that and leave. And so I look and I'm like, I didn't drive very far from the ramp, and I kind of looked in my rear view mirror, and I'm like, what is that in the road? So I get out, and there's one of my sets of rollers, on these big Shorelander. On each side, I have, the big 4 set of rollers in the back. You got the back,
Right.
and then I have 2 other sets. Well, I lost one whole side. I don't know what happened to the back set. I found one set, but yeah, so my boat was sitting right on that metal beam of the trailer. And then, I'm looking all over the place online to see if I can order a replacement, or I couldn't find anything. And, the next morning I went on eBay, and, a place had one in Wisconsin. And just for that little piece, man, it was still like $300 just for, so.
And then you got to pull the boat off, and then go probably. Or did you pull the boat off, put it in a slip or something, or how did you?
Yeah, that's one of the perks of living at the lake now. I just
go.
went this was at the end of the season, so I launched the boat, tied it off to the dock, and then I just did it right there at the ramp. Luckily it's very easy. It's just, 2 bolts that go in there, you tighten down, and you're back in business. So Michael said that the 2 happiest days in the boat owner's life is the day you buy it and the day you sell it, which I've heard that plenty of times. And then Dennis, boat stands for bust out another 1,000, which is very accurate.
Very accurate.
What's going on, Robert?
Oh, Dennis said operator error. He's probably right. He's probably right on that.
Yeah, I think he was talking about you keep glitching out into the matrix.
Oh,
Yeah.
I took that red pill, so I don't, it's about any time now.
But yeah, there's a lot that goes into, in the boat prep, and there's a lot of videos on YouTube, guys. Like for me, I had no idea where the thermostat was, and Keith at Crawley walked me through it. I'm a visual learner, so you can sit and tell me something until you're blue in the face, and I'll nod and say, and then I'll go to YouTube and look it up. But it's so simple. And going back to that thermostat real quick, it's something that I didn't know, but basically every 100 hours you should change that thermostat out. Is what they recommend, is 100 to 150 hours. And so that's essentially an every year thing for those of you guys that are running your boats hard. It's only like it's $100 part. It pops in fairly easy. I mean, my boat, the Verado 200 that I have, it's a little bit more difficult because you got to pull the electrical panel away, but the 150s are super easy. It's just right there. You take 2 bolts out, you put the new one in, you clean out, you clean the area out that's in there. You'd be surprised, like all the stuff, all the sand, silt, rocks, it all goes through that thermostat. So if your engine isn't getting warm enough, you're not burning off that gas. That gas goes into your oil. It messes with your injectors, and then you end up like me. So don't be like me.
That stream too. Like I see a lot of folks fire up their motor for the first time or something, and that stream is really weak. Then they start to head out. And I'm like, hey, I mean, I know it's real simple and real basic, but I mean, make sure you got a good, consistent, steady stream. It's like you've been out all night drinking. You got to have that same type of stream coming out of your boat, just like if
I mean, if it's if you're sitting there, you either got a kidney stone or you might want to get your prostate checked. It's the same thing with your boat, right? If that stream isn't strong and steady, better get it checked out.
Go get that stuff checked out.
Yeah. But let's kind of cruise away from that, and let's talk about, some late ice fishing tips, or we can even um, tips are actually, I mean, all honesty, opportunities, because
Right.
each day I think it narrows down.
I mean, how it works down here, over here in Colorado. We have our opportunities that come in for a little bit down here on the Front Range, right? And then we still got opportunities in the high country, but you're dealing with those late ice conditions. Those fish have been under a block of ice for a long time. They could they have that just are waiting for something to change, so the fishing couldn't be as good. Or you got a bunch of slush. This weekend I'm trying to look at going for one last Laker trip, but we're trying to go places that the slush isn't that bad.
Yep.
And, that's kind of what we're looking at now. Mostly in particular is the conditions to either get a machine out there, walk. I mean, nobody wants to go walk through slush. It's just, we've all done it. It's a pain in the butt. So we're looking at that now. And it was really, this year was odd. I don't know if it was out there where you're at, but for us out down here, and I'm sure you saw on Facebook or, talk to, or seeing people post stuff, but we kind of had like a little extended Front Range ice. Now,
Yep.
we came into like, everything was working out. Like we were on schedule to either open for boating either March 1st or a week or so after. I felt we were anyway. And then we got that cold front that
Last
came. I didn't think it was
blast.
going to get that cold. Like it was single digits. It was below zero at night, and it didn't make any new ice. But what it did is it kept the ice that's there. It kept it. And
Yep.
like I said, I didn't feel confident in that ice, even though I saw a couple guys that were out there doing it. But I'm just at the point in my life where I've done that before. I've gotten wet. I've gotten the planks. I've gotten all the
Oh, yeah.
rope. I mean, we've all done that. And I just don't want to do it right now. I'll just get ready for open water. That's just me. But I saw a couple heroes that were out there, do it for the gram, do it
Right,
for
yeah.
whatever, how you guys do it.
Do it for the feed.
Get out there and do it. So be safe. But we had a little, I didn't think it was gonna get that cold. I thought we were gonna be done. But now what we're seeing now here in Denver usually happens towards a couple weeks, mid-February, maybe later February, with all this freaking wind. It's wind, but we haven't got those Chinook winds. We usually get those Chinook winds.
Oh, they're
and that
coming.
really destroys
They've been here the last couple days.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's finally
coming
here. So, I mean, and we got lakes opening up to boating. Boyd opens up on Friday. Bar Lake is going to open up on April 1st. And I think we're waiting on some water to come off. But who knows about Chatfield? I know Cherry Creek, I saw some pictures. It looked like it was wide open. There might be some ice in the east end. But, I mean, we're a couple days. Like I said, Boyd's opening on Friday, I believe. And a couple other places are going to be open here pretty soon. So for boating. So there are still opportunities in the high country to go ice fishing. But you just got to have to be able, you got to be prepared to deal with slush and just those crappy conditions. But you can still go up there and whack some fish. I mean, remember that late Antero ice trip we went on?
Oh yeah.
That was a kick ass. It was mid-March, wasn't it? Mid-March almost.
Yeah, we all got sunburnt pretty bad. Yeah, really
I remember that. We got
really bad.
Like fat lobsters up there, man.
Yeah, I burnt so bad my lips like blistered from the sun, and I just remember like being out there like feeling like a hot dog roasting. That's how it was out there.
You got to worry about the sun too, because temps getting warmer.
Yep.
And all that mumbo jumbo. So there are opportunities out there right now. If I was going to go out, I would try to get one last lake trout trip in. There's opportunities to do that. Or I'd be trying to go get on some pike, I'd try to go to set up some tip ups and some situations like that. We do have places you can do it, but it's not as good as the Midwest or some other places that you can go and put tip ups out for pike, like the Dakotas and places like that. But there's opportunity to do it right now. Yep. And if you can go find, some good conditions that you can move around a little bit, you can probably catch some of the biggest fish. Those fish are getting ready. They're either getting into pre-spawn or they're starting to think about pre-spawn or going to spawn here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's a really good time of year. You could ice fish like literally, all day, and then come back and do what Dennis does. The vampire shift for walleye. It's a
Yeah.
great time of the year, especially for shore anglers. If you're stuck without a boat, this is your time to shine.
Mhm.
Chatfield, Cherry Creek, Carter, pretty much all the lakes. Those fish move in to spawn, especially at night. They move into that shallow water. It's a great opportunity to go out there from shore with jerk baits and just kind of throw your hat in the ring, so to speak, at walleye fishing at night. I've done it a few times. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's just like fishing in general, right? You'll be sitting there fishing. Next thing you know, you're like, holy cow, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, what is going on?
And I force, because I suck at, and I suck night fishing from a boat. I suck at it. And the biggest reason why I suck at it is because my depth perception is all jacked up.
Yeah.
So I got to wear
So it is
contact.
operator error then. He was
It's
right.
operator error,
Yeah.
100%. I got to wear contacts because if I wear glasses, my glasses get fogged. I mean, they get fogged
Yeah.
up at night. You're dealing with cold and you can't see crap. So but I still go out there because I know that, even as operator error friendly as I am, I can run into the biggest fish of my life, the biggest fish of the year. But so in the boat, I force myself to get out there so I can learn and become more comfortable and better, even though I've been doing it for, I don't know how many, for going on 10 plus years now since I've had a boat. But I still, I'm not gonna say I suck at it. I'm getting better, but it's just the depth perception stuff like that just drives me crazy. But from fishing from shore at night, now that's something that that I've done for quite some time, whether it's catfishing or night fishing for walleye. So yeah, that's like you said, man. That's when those the vampires like Dennis and a couple other guys that get out there, they can go out there and put the hurting on some of these eyes. And I've seen some big fish come. You mentioned jerk baits. So I've been over the past couple seasons anyway, I have added another bait to that nighttime. And I could be probably, I don't think I'm telling any tales out of school or dropping a secret bait, but a small kind of like a thumper type of tail swim bait is what I've been using. And I'm not saying I've been catching bigger fish, but more fish. You know what I'm saying? So that might be something that you can think about. You got the big jerk baits, got the husky jerks.
Yeah, those Kitex work really good.
The bombers, whatever you're using, but throw in a swim bait. I'm not talking about like a big 5-6 inch swim bait. I'm talking about 2-3 inches.
Yep.
And try to mix that in there. And what I've been using 2 rods too, man. I'll try to set up something with a big old fat shiner on a bobber, because you never know.
No.
So I kind of like to do that, but outside of the jerk baits and the run of the mill stuff that you always going to use, try to throw a little 2 to 3 inch swim bait with a thumper tail or even a ribbon or a ribbon tail, something like that.
Yeah. Dennis said kind of, I mentioned the Kitex. I really love the Kitex. And then and the Walleye Assassin. I was like, because I'm sitting here like thinking like Kitex one, but I'm like, what's the other one? Because you got the Kitex, the Walleye Assassin, and then, kind of one that's out of kind of left field that gets thought about, or doesn't get thought about, is the Sneak Attack from Dynamic. And I've caught a lot of nice walleye on those, out by Boise and stuff like that out here in Wyoming using that. But those Walleye Assassins work really good. So Matt has entered the portal again. So I think he's trying to join college and go into the transfer portal. So we'll wait for him to magically reappear, which shouldn't be up. There he is. He's back out of the college transfer portal.
I'm listening and talking, and then it just goes away.
Yeah. Well, if you wanted to enter the transfer portal to be on a different show, we could make that happen, man.
I didn't do that. This is making it look bad. This is so ridiculous.
Oh. Blame it on what is it? The solar. There's some weird solar thing that's going on right now.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like a couple year long, like, man, I can't. We were talking about it the other day. It's like some solar median or something like that. It's something really weird.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And I've been using the Rage swimmer, the Rage tail
from
Strike King. And those freaking frostbite mini slayers. Have you seen those?
Uh-uh.
Oh man, I am addicted to these freaking things. The
Let's
mini
see if
slayers, the big slayer is pretty good too, but the mini slayer, I've caught so many fish on the chartreuse mini slayer that it's freaking crazy. But again, I may be like 5-6 years behind everybody else, but I've just caught on with these smaller swim baits, and just been just different jig options, different jig, longer, shorter shank hooks. I've been using a lot of experimenting with a lot of the eagle claw stuff. It's really become a part of my game, and at night during the springtime and fall, they've just been really shining for numbers of fish.
there you go.
Boom! Look at that thing. Yeah, that man, that thing.
Which one do you like? Snow globe?
That chartreuse one. That go back to that glow. That
The
glow
citrus
chartreuse. It might
sneeze?
have been a different color. That one.
They have a mucky perch. Let's see what that looks like. That looks interesting. The double.
Yeah.
That'd be good. Let's see. The deal breaker. Yeah, see, that'd be a good boysen color out here.
Yeah.
Pink money. Now you see what I've noticed for walleye, and we found this out, and I was talking to Patrick about this, who does Radcast. He's got a podcast called Radcast Outdoors. Is we were talking about how pink for walleye and pike, and it works great, but it's not a natural bite like they're feeding. It's an aggressive, like, hey, I don't know what you are, but you're annoying the crap out of me strike.
Right.
But yeah, this citrus, I mean, chartreuse works, right? It's like one of the best colors there is, chartreuse or white. Right?
Are they calling that chartreuse or citrus? I call it chartreuse.
Citrus sneeze.
Citrus sneeze.
It's glow too.
A creative way to say chartreuse, I guess.
Yeah, there's a bigger view of it.
Yeah, dude, those things are sick. The tail action is just something else that I haven't found really on a lot of other baits. But yeah, you're right. The color, and I even would experiment with this with the color, like you mentioned, color with walleye, with even like doing, like if bottom bouncers, Lindy rigs, rigging, if I'm dragging bait or something like that, with the color of the bottom bouncer, the weight, just experimenting with maybe, using a regular ball head with no color on it, as opposed to maybe dipping it in some paint, whether it's chartreuse and orange or pink, dipping it in something, just trying different colors just to see if that might get a reaction out of the fish, a positive reaction, or even a negative reaction. And a negative reaction always isn't bad. A negative reaction could be, I don't want that around me, and I'm going to go eat it. I'm going to go kill it. I'm going to go get it out of here. So you think about color and mixing it up, or just adding something to it. Like I would add just for example, if I'm fishing live bait, whether it's for walleye, trout, catfish, whatever it is, I'll add a little bead to it.
Yep.
Like an orange chartreuse bead, just something that's kind of like just looks a little different than whatever else that they're out there. Because a lot of times, I'm not trying to feed the fish. I don't know what that fish wants to eat. I don't know what it's hungry for. I want to get it to react to what I'm doing. So a lot of times that's how I keep my mindset when I'm trying to catch these fish.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy too. You talk about putting that bead on there. I remember, fishing walleye tournaments and, bottom bouncers. And if you didn't have that Gamakatsu red hook with the chartreuse bead on it, you weren't catching fish. And so there's something about it, whether it creates a little bit more vibration, it's a little something extra that sticks out of the water that draws them, catches their eye, but it does make a big difference.
Oh yeah. And I mean, with trout too, every fish has a certain color, but I mean, I don't know if you watch or you're familiar with Clayton Schick. You ever see him, Clayton Schick Outdoors?
A lot of guys that come lake trout fishing with me through the ice, I can tell immediately if they've been watching him lake trout fish. Because those Canadian fish, a lot of the time they're just inhaling that bait, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you can get away setting hook like they do up there, and then dropping that rod and those real exaggerated hook sets. But you come out to the gorge and try to do that out here, you're going to miss that fish 9 out of 10 times,
right?
And so
It's different.
Anyway, I always get a kick out of that because I'm like, oh, you were watching Clayton Schick on YouTube, weren't you? Yeah. How did you know? I'm like, is you're trying to set the hook the way he does it, which works where he's at, but it's not going to
Right.
work here.
100%. God, I'm glad you said it that way, because that's what different fish act different. It's what they're eating. Like the forage those fish have to eat over there is insane. It's insane. I don't know what you guys have to do because I'm not familiar with the gorge or with where you're at with the gorge. So what's predominantly there?
Less is more.
Less is more
for jigging. Yep.
Nice. See, and that's something that, like, if you watch those shows, they're aggressive as hell sometimes.
Oh yeah.
And they're catching them on rattle baits. I scare the shit out of lake trout if I try to put a rattle bait down there. It doesn't matter how big that damn fish is.
Oh yeah,
they enter that fish and take off. But they're over there smacking them. And I've even tried, non-rattle baits like lipless crankbaits or with non-rattles in them. Nothing. And those guys are whacking them with them. So
no, I have done pretty good at Granby.
I'm glad you said it that way, because that's something to think about. A lot of people don't think about that. Different places, those fish react differently. They want it differently. They want to eat it differently. And like, just for example, lake trout, or not lake trout, but just trout in general. I mean, you go in the high country, you go to those weedy lakes and where those fish are feeding on those scuds, those bugs that are up higher in the water column, they'll come up and be aggressive and bite fish higher in the water, or bite baits higher in the water column.
Yep.
But sometimes you get a rocky lake, sandy bottom lake, you got to keep that bait on the bottom. And that's where they're going to come in. They like to pin it on the bottom. They like to go attack on the bottom or something like that. So figuring out all that stuff can really make a great day of fishing even better. If you can figure out those little minute details. But it might take some time. It might take multiple trips and different experiences. Like we wouldn't know weed fish react different than non-weed fish if we didn't feed multiple different lakes and different places that have the different situations that we can fish, to learn how those fish react in those places. So if I go to a lake, hey, I got a bunch of weeds here, I got the same conditions I had at this place, let me try this and see if this works, because it worked there, let's see if it works here. So those are just, I will say,
fishing in the West is definitely more trying to think more it's more finesse fishing than anywhere else. And that's one thing that really made me a better angler, was when I moved out here and fished like this, and I go home, and now the little stuff that, you go back home to Wisconsin and jig lake trout, it's the same thing. Like you don't have to put any kind of effort or paying attention. You just go out there and it's like, oh, there's a rock pile here. I'm just going to throw this spoon down here and just start ripping it, real aggressively. And next thing you know, hey, I got a fish on. That didn't take long. But you come back out here and try to do that, it doesn't work. But there are a lot of techniques out here that you bring them back to the Midwest or other areas like that and do it. You're going to catch bigger fish, just because, those bigger fish, they're real selective in their presentation. They've been around, especially lake trout. But you're going to be more in tuned and ready to go than, the smaller fish will give you plenty of opportunities for the most part.
Right.
And that's usually how you can tell if it's a big fish or not down there, is if it bites more than once, it's probably not that big.
Right.
So especially lake trout fishing. But I mean, there is a huge difference, fishing out here. It's just way more technical and finesse fishing than, for the most part, there's always going to be, stuff that goes against the grain with that. But for the most part, being out here and, talking to a couple of buddies that lived out here and moved back home, they said they credited a lot of their success is fishing these Western lakes and reservoirs out here, made them a better fisherman, because it is harder, not only, just in presentation and stuff, but the pressure these fish see, especially now on these lakes in Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, this whole area, Idaho, and more people are out fishing, and the West, the population is booming. So there's not as much water that these fish can really go and hide like there is on the Great Lakes. And even the Great Lakes is become kind of a machine compared to when I grew up,
Yeah, I just look at when all the, like you said, the pressure, man. That's for
Yep.
me. I'm trying to anticipate this season. We got the gas prices where they are, and I'm trying to think of like how are people going to react to this? Because we all know whether it's COVID or whatever it is, people are going to get out and they're going to go and do something.
Yep.
So what I'm trying to think of now is like, okay, so if with the gas the way it is, especially out here, are all of my local whole stomping grounds just going to be packed with people because they don't want to drive far? They don't want to go out. When before with COVID, I felt like everybody went everywhere.
Oh,
Like they were
yeah.
trying to
Well,
get
but
out.
you also look at like what gas prices were.
Nooks and crannies where you would never see people before.
Yep.
Now I'm
I mean,
wondering
even out here on the mountains, I mean, you go hiking up places where you would never see a single person. There's like people everywhere, but you look back when that was going on, like you couldn't go do different stuff. Gas was cheap, so people got out and explored. And now it's like kind of like slap back to reality.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't, and this is a little bit off topic, from fishing stuff, but a lot of people don't think about, all these payments that were getting handed out, like where they needed. Yeah, it helped out a lot of people, but the drawback to that is, you pump more money into anything without taking something away.
Yep.
You get inflation, and now, every you saw in, inflated costs in pretty much everything. And then, the gas prices, kind of went up there, and now they want to, give Americans like $100 subsidies every month. Gas is over, but it's like, why are we going to pump money into something that, I mean, the housing market's inflated.
Yeah.
All this stuff is inflated. And if you look at history and anything like that, and you pay attention to this kind of stuff, like, it's just like a big repeat. You have a huge drought going on out here in the West, and it's not talked about a lot. It's all hush hush. I was in a meeting with the Bureau of Reclamation last week about, plans, because Lake Powell is, they're close to Deadpool status where they can't even run that dam. And so they want to take a bunch of water from up here on our peak inflow. But the thing of it is, they drained Blue Mesa. I mean, Blue Mesa is what? I think I talked to Robbie last week, is 80 feet low.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, once Blue Mesa is gone, like now you have the gorge. Okay, but once the gorge is gone, then what? I mean, then you guys have depleted the whole water source out here in the West, all for these cities that are just growing out here in the desert, with that don't have any regulations on water. They have these golf courses. Everybody's house has got green grass out in areas where, like St. George, where it is red. It looks like Mars out there, right? And they're essentially terraforming this stuff. But it all feeds into the same thing. And that's kind of why, it's good you brought it up, because it does play a factor into, the sportsmen and the outdoors and stuff like that. Is we're getting to a point out here where the bubble is going to pop, and the economy has a way of always balancing itself out, right? You I don't know how many housing market crashes we've seen, stock market crashes. It's all the same thing. So it is going to be interesting to see, like, the combination of all this. Is gas going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back? You know?
Right. And that's what I'm kind of like looking at. Like I'm seriously planning out. I'm anticipating and planning out my I guess my summer to see if this is going to affect me, and the way it would, where I go to recreate, and it's just packed. You can't get there. You can't get in. You can't go to the neighborhood pond because people there. And I'm not upset. I'm not like mad, but it's just something that you have to think of. You have to look at.
Yeah. You have to readjust.
If you're buying a brand new boat right now, I'm going to go spend $60,000, $50,000, $70,000 on a brand new boat. Right. And my whole idea is I'm going to come out and I'm going to go fish here. I'm going to go fish there. Well, you have no clue. If you're a new boat owner, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into, going out and going and putting yourself in a situation where everybody's there. And that's something you have to wait. Then you're going to be pissed off. Like, I shouldn't have bought this damn boat. I can't even take it over here because I got to wait in line for 4 hours to get into the state park to use it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean that's something that you guys really have to think.
Yep.
You know, where we don't have to worry as much as the lines to go launch your boat at Cherry Creek and Chatfield, and I've heard stories, and I'm like, man, I'm so glad that I don't live there anymore and have to deal with, you're in line for 2 hours to get your boat out of the, and that kind of ties into as all this water resource that we've had and abused for so many years, just kind of as the snowpack levels we are just not what they were, and we're going into a period of drought, so there's going to be less available water for people that would normally go to, like for me out here at Flaming Gorge, a lot of people that go to Powell, well, there's not a single boat ramp that's working at Lake Powell. So, I can guarantee we're going to see a lot of that boat traffic, come out here. But, I got some information that I'll be releasing too. But, if the water goes down, 10, 15 more feet here at the gorge, we're not going to have most of our boat ramps are going to be out of the water too. So it's kind of uncharted territory, because most of these reservoirs were built after, the Great Depression and, the Dust Bowl. Right. And
right.
if you look at history and stuff like that and what our water levels have been, it's talking to the Forest Service, it's way worse than the years preceding or leading up to the Dust Bowl, what we're going through right now. And so that's scary to think about. These lakes, like, Lake Mead has dropped below levels. It's never been that low since they filled the lake. Yeah. And that's insane. Like 150 feet low. So that's, you talk about these lakes like Powell and Lake Mead that you have 150 feet low, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that might not be too bad. But when you look at the sheer size and volume of these lakes, where it takes you literally 8 hours to go from one end of the lake to the other on a boat, and then you take 150 feet and do all the volume for those math wizards out there, that's a lot of water, right?
It is. And I mean, and look at California, all those big bass factories that are out there, they're drying up. I think one is not even, there's not even water in it anymore, if I can remember right. And then California is a kindling box in itself. It's so dry out there. But and our snowpack, what I've noticed are here anyway in Colorado is we'll get all our snowpack down at like, oh, we're okay, we're 120% above snowpack where we need to be, but it's like right at the last minute. You know what I mean?
Well, it's right at the last minute, and then it doesn't go into the ground. So, and that's what we see up here, where you'll get all of your snowpack for the year in a month, and then it just slowly trickles away. And then by the time when runoff happens, like it was, living in the mountains, you got to time river fishing to runoff, right?
Yep.
And last year it was insane. There was no runoff at all. The river just kept going down. So the ground leading up to down here was so dry that it was just absorbing, and they do all these hydration studies, to get their numbers and stuff like that. But some of the numbers, they tried feeding us in this meeting. It was it's like, where, like, I'm not a scientist, right? I'm a fisherman.
Right.
And even I knew, because I go snowmobiling, so I look at snowpack numbers, and stuff like that. And the numbers they had in there, I'm like, where did you guys get these numbers from? Because they were trying to tell us, like, oh, yeah, we're at 135% median. And literally when I looked at like snowpack for snowmobiling, and that like Snowtel is on point.
Yeah.
And we're at 80. They were saying we're at 83% median. So it's like, where did you guys get this extra like 50, 60% of, median snowpack? And if you look, and, there's so many weather apps, you can look at long range forecasts and stuff. I mean, you can really dive into this stuff and, look at what's going to happen in it. This summer is looking like it's going to be one of the hottest, driest summers on record for the area out here.
Yeah. And that's I don't want to, say terrifying, but it is, because if you just look at like the fires, man, I mean, that's where my mind goes to.
In the beetle kill.
If there's, like you mentioned, if the ground's not wet, if the ground's not soaking up that moisture and that water, just look at what we had here in December, one of the most devastating fires.
Yeah. That was insane.
And it could have been worse. Like it could have been worse. It could have got, the way it was going and the way it wasn't, it's, where I live in vicinity of the fire, it's not close, but as the crow flies, as they say, it's pretty freaking close, And I'm thinking, am I in danger, or are we in trouble? Is the fire going to come? And there's nothing that says that can't happen. There's all kinds of areas around my place and just around town here where that can happen. And we can be in some serious trouble with the conditions that we were in last year. Like you said, we're probably going to have very, very similar conditions again this season here. I haven't read up on what our weather patterns are looking like. We're having La Nina, El Nina, El Carbone, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what we're going to have here.
This is the Dwight Schrute year. So there's 0 days without any nonsense. All right.
Well, that would be great. I would love to have a Dwight Schrute year, an El Schrute, or Schrute Farms, beats the beat year.
Yeah, beats it for everybody gets beats. Matt says, "What's up?" Yeah, the gorge does need water. I mean, there's so many places that need water, and you learn so much, basically living on the water and having it in your backyard and going to these meetings that the general public doesn't get to go to. And it's just crazy that, you get a lot of these people down south. They're just businessmen. They want to build cities and they want water, and they, in their mind, their reasoning is, well, the last 20 years we haven't demanded any water. And so we want the water that we were supposed to get the last 20 years in the middle of a drought. And it's
right.
It's so crazy.
It is. And it affect fishing. It's going to affect water accessibility like it already is. So you're going to have to change the way you do you do things potentially,
I'm going to have to get a jet boat probably. Because it's going to be, it's not going to be a lake. It's going to be a river out here.
You can go shoot some gators? Shoot them.
Yeah. We'll get them gators.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how all this shakes out. And it's unfortunate because all we want to do is go fishing.
Yep.
But there's a lot of other stuff that goes with it. And that's why, I love talking to you and talking to other people, because there's a lot of people that they can just do that, right? They can just go fishing.
Yep.
But they can bitch and complain about everything else, but not even understand what the hell's going on. And that's why I like talking to you and other people. And I'm not saying everybody needs to have that mindset or be able to talk like that or have those concerns, because there's people like us that have those concerns for you. And I'm fine with that.
No, but the general public should should want to get involved with stuff like this. And, we started a bunch of stuff with stocking that wasn't being done here at the gorge that, Game and Fish didn't do because they didn't think there was an interest, because nobody called them and complained that these fish weren't being stocked. So that's why they didn't stock them. And, you or me, we're not going to call Game and Fish and be like, hey, we want to know why, the average person isn't going to do that.
Right.
But that's where you get guys that create a conversation, right? And conversations are good. And just because I think one way, you think the other way, doesn't mean that we can't still have a conversation that leads to good. And we've really gotten away with that. And I feel like I'm 90 years old. I'm 36 years old, and I
agree with you.
But we need to get back to doing that and just going out, having fun. And, you look at a lot of these pages where, anybody posts a picture on there and you got about 3 guys, bombing out Wikipedia, and, their Google doctorates are out there of, oh, you should be doing this or that, and, you know, I've, you know, there's a lot of videos I haven't posted because I'll tell you straight up, any big fish you catch over 30 pounds bleeds.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, it is
I mean,
every single, and I've caught a bunch of those fish that over that size. Every single one of them, it's like wherever you set the hook on the top of their mouth, there's a blood vein right there, and they bleed. And so you're doing like a release video. The fish is fine, right?
yeah,
It's like us with a bloody lip.
right.
It's perfectly fine, but people flip out. Oh my god! Oh, it's bleeding. It's that fish is dead, and it's like, wow, really? I didn't realize that you were there, like
Well,
for the whole thing.
I can't, Shane. I'm right there. I'm with you. I stopped. I'll post things every now and then on Facebook when it comes, but I've stopped for the most part. And it wasn't because I was getting crap from anybody, but I just stopped because I could see how ridiculous it is. And I'm right there with you, like with all that, like what you're saying with the bleeding and think about this. This is what I like. It just drives me freaking crazy, dude. Think about this. That fish uses its face to live.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a hardy freaking fish. I'm not saying, you know, that the lake trout is a hardy freaking fish.
Yep.
Any
It's not a
fish,
rainbow or a
for
kokanee.
example, I think there's some sissy fish out there. You know, I don't want to get anybody upset with talking about largemouth bass being sissy fish, but they're sissy fish. Okay.
I know. I used to run tournaments.
Huh?
I said I used to run tournaments. It's what goes into keeping those fish alive is nuts.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, so it's like I can understand something, but a lake trout, a pike, those are hardy fish. They're predators. They use their face to live. They use their face to survive. They use their face to do everything. Okay. So, and that like you mentioned, you know, that blood coagulates when you put them back in the water. The way I understand it, the way I've always understood it, is if you have those kind of situations, you have those issues, you know, like you said, a fish is going to bleed. Fish bleeds all, you know, it drives me crazy when I see people that get so upset about that. Like, oh, that fish is bleeding. That fish is this, or they get mad at you, like your fish handling abilities. When I know, Shane, I know you go through everything you can to make sure that those are your babies. They're your partners, man. Like,
they are. I don't have a business without them, and that's, you know,
right.
it's so hilarious
go
when
out there and go and fish and just you don't rape the resource. You know, there are some that do, but I don't. I know you don't, and just in other examples too, with people catching, you know, catch and release stuff. You get into the catch and release mindset. Like all those people that preach catch and release. If you were really a catch and release angler, you would be using barbless hooks. You would have all kinds of things set up you wouldn't even land the fish. You would just catch it, fight it for 10 minutes, then cut your line.
Yep.
You know, come on, give me a freaking break. Like I can't stand this anymore with all this, just people bitching and complaining about how you catch a fish. Like I just can't, it drives me crazy.
Oh, I know. That's
you know,
why
you know what I mean? I feel you right. I'm right there with you, bro.
I stay out of a lot of that stuff. You know, I'll see stuff that makes me shake my head, but you know, the biggest thing is, you know, you get these guys that get opinions, you know, oh, he's a guide. He's out there killing everything. And it's like, dude, I guarantee you, like out here, I'm working with, you know, Buckboard Marina to promote conservation at the gorge to make the fishery better. I'm not just talking about it. I'm literally doing it, working with Game and Fish and everything else like that. And going out there and seeing what needs to be done. And, you know, it's hard with people, especially that fish for lake trout, to be like, hey, you got to kill some. But that's just, I mean, they're a char. You go any lake, St. Mary's, right? Brookies are all like that big with big giant heads, little bodies. There's too many fish, not enough, too many mouths, not enough food. And so and that's one thing where we've really been trying to drive home out here is keeping the smaller fish so the gorge doesn't end up like Granby, where you're bragging that you caught a 30-inch fish. You know, a 30-inch fish in Colorado is phenomenal. A 30-inch fish out here in Wyoming is a pup. I mean, I don't take pictures with, and that's just how spoiled we are out here. You know, I mean, if we want to get down to the nitty gritty, any trout that's over 10 pounds is a good trout.
Yeah.
You know, lake trout, you know, rainbow, brown, you catch a 10-pound brookie, you might be doing something else. But for the most part, any trout or any fish that's 10 pounds is a big fish, right?
Yeah.
But
100%. And like you said too, like I love to eat lake trout. They're a char. I freaking love
they're
smoked
great
lake trout. I
smoked.
love lake trout chowder. I love red chili and lake trout. I mean in a soup kind of deal. And I'll be 100% honest. If I live here in Colorado, I would if I could go somewhere and I could take home a 25+ inch fish. That's my ideal take home fish. But I'm not going to do that in Colorado.
No,
I'm not going to do that at Granby. I'm not going to do that at
you won't make it home.
So just because I understand,
Yeah,
there's not another fish to take that fish place. But like you said, if you go and you're over there, I'm not saying I've never been there. I don't know if you're keeping 25+ inch fish to take home and put on a smoker, but like let's just go to Canada or something like that. That's where those 25+inch
they get
fish,
those 25-pounders and smoke them.
I know that's what I'm saying. It's like different areas call for different places, but I'm not gonna. I'll tell you right now, if we could keep big lake trout here, I would love to do it because I would love to eat those damn things. But I know,
yep,
I understand what situation we have here, so I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, because a 25-inch lake trout at Granby, is probably going to be 20 years old or more, or a 25-inch fish here is probably around 11 for the most part.
Right. And that's just.
And you want to know something? You want to know something really insane? This will blow your mind. So, the state record fish that was caught a couple years ago here in Wyoming at the gorge is just over 54 pounds. Give me your best guess at how old do you think that fish is?
God, now I'm going out from here. Like I'm going out from here. I'm going to say 50+ years old, 60 years old.
16.
Jesus.
Think about that. Now there's fish. Now there's fish here, and there's I don't want to say like two different strains of lake trout, but there are two genetic strains of lake trout here. You have the lake trout that they have the big heads and the torpedo bodies. And that's the fish like the one I caught through the ice that was 44 and a half, just under 44 and a half inches and about 40 pounds. And then you get these blimps that are out here. And these blimps, you look at them, and I know if Sean's watching, he's caught one down at the dam with me. This thing had a little tiny head on it and just a huge big old body. And all they do is go around and eat kokanee. That's all they do, because this fish we caught had 3 kokanee in its belly and it was still eating. And you get a 320-inch, you could feel the fish in its stomach. But those are the big blimps, and there's that genetic fish out here. I've seen it. You've seen like 40-inch fish, and Blue Mesa has these same fish that are like 40, like 40 by 40 essentially, and that's like a different breed of fish out here. But yeah, we talked to the Game and Fish about that. In that lake trout that was 54 and a half pounds was only 16 years old. Jeez. And looking at the fish, I thought it was like 2025, because I was like, man, that looks like a young fish. It's got that little tiny head. And that's how you can tell with lake trout, right? Is they get those big exaggerated heads, and their fins are just kind of it's like we get older, we get our skin is looser, right? So
they look like dinosaurs, like their mouths they look like
big. I love big shovel nose lake trout. They're my favorite. Like, and that getting a replica mount out here, it's hard because a lot of the replicas aren't the same as the fish here. I mean, these fish just have these big shovel face heads out here. But yeah, there's just so much, sit and talk about fishing. We're at almost an hour and a half already, if you can believe that.
I haven't even been paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting close to wrap up time, but I mean that's just it's good conversation to have. And this, we've been kind of all over the chart, and these are my favorite shows to do, honestly, because
I enjoy these shows too. I do. I try to stay kind of on topic as best as we can, but there's just things that just come out. What where are you launching the boat? Are you going to launch your boat here pretty soon?
Yeah, I was out today,
Oh,
actually.
yeah, that's why you said you're out today, huh?
Yeah.
What do you think the first boat fish you're going to put in the boat? Lake trout?
What's that?
What's the first fish you're going to put in the boat?
Oh, the first fish I put in the boat this morning was about a 23-pound lake trout. And that was about, I think, 30 minutes in.
Jigging or trolling?
What's that?
Trolling or jigging?
A little bit of both.
Do
Slow
you
trolling.
you troll down riggers now, right?
I have downriggers, but I prefer to slow troll tubes and other stuff.
Like, well, I mean, I don't want you to give up all your, your secrets or nothing. You gotta pay to go learn that stuff, right? But do you
Oh, yeah.
like? Because I've seen your setup, like with the downriggers and stuff like that. But do you use divers at all or anything? What do you use to get them down, or do you troll up top right now since they're kind of shallow?
No, right now I'm just using, I like to fish as if I was a salmon.
Okay.
So a lot of, springtime, for you guys in Colorado, it's a great time of year to fish, that 30 feet or less of water with deep diving Smithwick rogues on planer boards. You can use tube jigs, drop it down to the bottom, and then go about a mile an hour and just kind of drag that tube. That tube will naturally come up about 10, 15 feet off the bottom. It's highly entertaining and highly frustrating at the same time.
Scares the poop
Today,
out of you.
I could definitely tell I was rusty today because today was one of the few days I missed more fish than I caught. I caught about 8 fish today. The biggest one was 23, and then I had and this is where getting into respooling your rods. I had a rod. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to respool it, and I got sidetracked with 20 million things because I just got my boat back. So I got it in the shop last night. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm like, oh man, I got to focus on one thing because nothing's getting done. So I was going to respool one of my rods, and because I was like, yeah, there's not much line on it. And not only that, but my junction knot that went from my leader to my braid, I was like, yeah, it's probably time.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it. I slapped it on a new rod and dropped it down there, and I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at it and like, oh man, that's a big fish. I'm talking like a 35 plus pound fish just comes. I mean, it's so cool when you got your bait like right here, and then you just see, sometimes they kind of come like this, but when they go like a missile being launched, right? You got Elon Musk launching SpaceX into the air. That's the lake trout coming up to your bait that fast. And I was like, oh my God. So I got my rod, and I go and I set the hook, and it's one of those fish that just sets the hook right back. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, this is a good one. And then there was nothing.
Oh no.
And then I was like, I looked at my reel and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one I was gonna. So these big fish, I always preach what I'm doing, right? The big fish will make you pay. They do every time. Matt King's got a trick question because he owns a Magnum tube jig company.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, so he wants to know what the best Magnum tube jig on the market is, and I'm just gonna say CJ. So, to answer your other question, Matt, double hook jigs. They work in some instances when fish are eating smaller fish and not bigger fish. Last year was really good for double hooked, and you can even put the hook in backwards too. There's a lot of people that are like, oh, those double hook jigs kill fish, and I try to find the logic in everything, right? Where someone says, oh, they kill fish, and I caught so many fish on those double-sided, on those, we got the hook coming out the front and the hook out the back. I've never had a fish hooked anywhere where a double-sided hook could kill a fish. In my opinion, it just goes to people is not paying attention. That fish is swallowing that bait. You're not on it when they come and eat. Because I just find it super hard to comprehend how these double-sided hooks are killing big fish when you're actively jigging and setting the hook, because all these fish that I've caught on these double-sided jigs, the only reason I use it is because last year they were eating the fish by the tip of the head. And so
Wow.
yeah, and so most of these lake trout anyway are going to hit like the first third of your jig, right? So the biggest thing I always see with people, and I get a little chuckle out of, is when they have these 10-inch tubes, and then they have like this 6-inch jig head hook shank that comes back and out, and I'm like, you do realize that fish is going to hit like where a fish's gills would be, right? And that's on any size tube. But you will get times where fish will hit, like, especially if you're jigging the bottom, where they just come and they grab the head, and they're not hitting that third of the bait. They're just hitting that first, like, I don't even know, like eighth of the jig. And so last year was one of those years where I used double-sided jigs just for that. And not only that, but those jigs also moved a little bit different. So that bait glides a little bit better, especially with using the CJ Customs. They got the fins. So using that with the double-sided jig, that bait, when it comes down and hits the bottom, if you do it correctly, it should scoot and glide like this. Whereas a regular tube, just kind of hits that front.
Yep.
And you have your line kind of towards the front and not the middle. So it does have different. Now, with those double-sided hooks, trying to play the chase game, that bait looks super weird. And Matt has gone back into the void again. But yeah, there's instances where everything. This year I just used a single hook, and that was what was working really good. So good questions, though. Welcome back, Dwight.
I'm sitting here talking to you, dude. I was like listening, and I'm like trying to like, they did double-sided jig, and then gone.
It's been 15 minutes since the last tomfoolery in the office.
I've operator errored myself, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really learning that stuff is just, and that's where you like guide. That's the info you get from a guide, because if you're just going out there
from a good guide,
going out there with your buddies and trying to catch fish, you're not going to figure that out. You're not going to notice that usually.
No.
And
this is stuff where I'm weird when it comes to that stuff. Yeah. Being in the Army for 8 years, you get ingrained attention to detail, and there's a lot of stuff that I just pay attention to, that I'll ask people like, hey, did you notice this or that? And they're kind of give me a blank stare. And I'm like, well, you don't pay attention to that? And they're like, I never thought to. And I'm like, that's not how my brain works. Like, my brain's always like, when fish aren't biting, I get really mad when I do get one to bite. And then I'm like, crap, what was I doing?
Right.
You're
like, I know that same thing. That always, I hate that when that happens. Cause you're like you said, you're usually pissed off because you can't get, you're like, oh man, they're not biting today. And then you kind of like tie something on that you don't have any confidence in, and you're pissed off, and you're like, I'm going to tie this on. So if I can't catch any fish, I'm going to try to lose it, or I'm going to get pissed off, and and then boom, you whack something, and you're like, what the hell was I doing?
Yep.
So then you try to throw a fit again. You try to do the same thing. You cuss, you tie it on and get all pissed off, and then try to throw it out there again and see if it works. That's kind of how I do it anyway.
Yeah, Dennis went to Cascade this year. Cascade this year they had a bloodworm hatch. So the bloodworm hatch usually lasts about 2 weeks, and this year it lasted like a month and a half.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was trying to make it out there with Dennis this year. I'm going to try to see if I can get out there next year, but man,
let me know.
That looks like a good trip.
Yeah, I went out there. I never fished the lake, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go fish the tournament.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, after the first day, I was in the running. Okay, I wasn't like up there, but for never having fished the lake, I think I weighed like 4.5 pounds for a 3 perch, which is in the running. But in order to be like in it, you needed almost 6 pounds each day. So what won it after 2 days, so you get to weigh in 3 perch each day, right? Mm-hmm. So a 6 perch basket was 12.4 pounds. I mean, there's bass tournaments and walleye tournaments. You don't even get that, and I mean, you go fish Trinidad, right? It's a
Right.
battle of the 14 inchers down there. Down there.
Yeah, the perch are probably bigger than the walleye down there too.
Yeah. So it is weird fishing a lake where the perch are the predominant predator down there. But that's where having live scope paid off, because you could see these perch just face down in the mud, moving real slow.
God, that's
And so that changed my presentation, because usually with the perch you do the shake and lift, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't doing that. So what we found out is you just kind of did that at the bottom, and then when the perch came in, you just slowly lifted it without shaking it, and those big girls would hit almost all the time.
I got to get out there to experience that. I got to try it. I got to get out. One of my goals for this summer is to get out there and go whack some smallies with you at Gorge. Can you do that? Huh?
Whack smallies at the Gorge?
Yeah.
Yeah, here in about a month from now.
I want a 5-pounder. All right.
That's doable. Actually, my biggest that you're gonna get a kick out of this. My biggest smallmouth I ever caught here. I was actually trolling for rainbows with a Thomas Boyant spoon. Thomas Boyant spoon, dude, and I caught it. It was just over 5 pounds. Big fat female, 22 inches.
Are they? Do the smallies? Are they like deep? Because I know that's clear water out there. Are they deep out there usually? You have to go deep to go find them.
No, not really. Usually in about a month or so, you can go anywhere off the bank and cast jerk baits. It's a blast.
Oh.
And what's really fun is when you can ask, I don't know if you know Troy Weisenberger.
Yeah, I'm familiar with him. Yeah, I know he is.
It's funny because we were out bass fishing. He's a bass guy, and he caught like a 12-pound laker on his ultralight rod that he was using for bass, casting jerk baits right at the boat. You would have thought he caught a 50-pounder. But it was a blast.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go get some of those small. I mean, of course, the lake trout are there. Yeah, I want to go get whack a big laker, but those smallies and those eel pout, man, those are the ones I want to go get. The freaking
the burbot numbers are in decline, and one thing we saw this year with the burbot is the lake trout are eating them now. So I've caught a lot of medium-sized fish, 15 to 24-pound fish that had 18 to 24-inch burbot hanging out of their mouth or partially digested, and that's something that we haven't seen. And this year I think the other previous years I fished here, I've caught one fish, and this year we've caught 7 or 8 fish that have had big burbot in there, and so that's either really good or really bad. So if it's really bad, they've what we're worried about is them crashing the kokanee population out here, and so the one thing we're kind of waiting to see, because we haven't been able to find hardly any salmon out here this year ice fishing, which is weird.
Really?
Yeah, but the lake trout are eating the burbot now, which means either they're those fish have grown up with the burbot, so they know they can eat them.
Okay.
It's either a combination of that, or they've eaten through the food source, so now they're eating the next thing that's available to them. So
you think, because that was gonna be my question, like why do you think they started eating the burbot? But you think that they might be, some of those fish might be going through the kokanee, and then that's what's left now?
Yeah, that's the thought behind it. We're waiting to see, kind of how the season ends up, and once they get out, once the ice is, there's only a few places you can fish. I had to go down to Anvil today to go fish, but because everything else is still, we had the same thing, right? Where it froze, thawed, it thawed really good, and then it froze super hard. It was like 18, 20 below. Oh. And so that ice mass, there's a big chunk of ice out there that, this ice is over a foot thick, and it's not going anywhere. I tried making, usually this time of year, you can go like, I trim my motor all the way up and just gun it so I make a huge wake. And, this is the time of year, if you guys got wakeboarding boats, if you really want to do a favor and not piss fishermen off, come out to the lake and bust the ice up with your wakeboarding boat instead of waiting until the summer and coming out and fishing right next to us. But
Get
Yeah,
out there now and get out there with your speakers.
yeah,
and
get out there
your
now.
Go blow that ice up. Put your ballast tanks. Go blow that ice up for us.
Yeah. But that ice didn't move at all. And I'm like, man, that's still thick ice for it to not move at all when making those waves.
God, isn't that something? Like like I always was amazed because I remember I saw it. It was either last year or a couple years ago. I want to say it was last year. Jackson was pretty much solid ice, right? And with some open water, I think want to say in the east end. And then it got wind, like just bad wind, and it was open in a day. And that ice was just all shoved onto the dam or towards the south end, and it was gone. And it was just, and it was a good solid 8 inches, And just to think the power of nature and how wind can do that, but at the same time, how like your situation you're describing, it's not even moving. That's freaking crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. And Matt asked, he's got a good question. This gives me a chuckle too, because when I was up at Cascade, I was at one of the tackle shops and listening to somebody talk about how perch love perch eyeballs, right? Mm-hmm. Anybody that perch fishes knows that perch love other perch eyeballs, but it's not for the reason they don't like perch eyeballs because perch eyeballs are delicious. Okay. If that was the case, you'd be having a lot of perch running around out there without eyes. Yeah. It's a combination of things, right? You have that dark contrast, right? With the middle of the eye that's dark. And then you have that gold ring that gives that flash. And then you also have that fresh meat scent that's down there. So it has more to do with that than an actual perch eyeball being what perch love to eat. I mean, yeah, they do, because it has the trifecta, right? You got the scent, and you got the contrasting colors that when you jig it and you move it, it shimmers really good. So it is a really good bait, but it's not my buddy Brett and I were just we're trying not to laugh, because they were like, oh, they go crazy over perch eyes. And Dennis said you'd be pulling up a perch attached to another perch's face. Yeah. So it's just hilarious. That's the difference between like fishermen and anglers, right? Anglers know the perch eyes are great. They outfish a lot of other baits, but there's the reason and the science behind it, not because it's a perch eye.
Right.
And so we just got a chuckle out of that. It's like, man, I don't know why I can't catch any perch today. It's like, oh, well, the other perch ate their eyeballs, so they can't see our baits now.
They don't know where they're going.
They're just swimming in circles.
Blind fish down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's. I've always looked at the perch eyes as scent and like you said is like a scent and a flesh. It's a piece of meat down there, and there are some different things that are around the eyes that go into the eyeball, and when you pull the eyeball out, or there's some different scents, there's some different smells, there's some different things that get put out in the water. So there's a lot of things that you can put in you, because I've never bought fake. Have you bought plastic eyeballs?
No. Because it's not the same.
It's not. That's exactly why. Like it's not the same. The only time I use plastic eggs is or plastic, something that's plastic, like a plastic piece of corn, is for carp fishing. Other than that, if it's just plastic, I'm not going to put it on there as bait. It's maybe a different color for tracking or something like that. But if it's got no scent or nothing on it, I'm not messing with it really. Yeah, that's a good question though, because a lot of people don't, and I never really thought about that. Like I thought in my head, like, if I'm going to put a perch eye on, it's going to be for scent, and it's going to be that's basically in my mind that's what I'm doing it for, because I understand what that.
And they were trying to like, oh, you got to buy these perch eye lures, and it's like, okay,
I've seen those. I'm like, no,
but you're going to buy this perch eye lure, and what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to tip it with a spike,
right?
So, I mean, if the perch eye was such a great bait, you could just throw the perch eye down there by itself and catch perch, right? So, right. I mean, so that's just kind of the stuff that, kind of cracks you up, where people, it's the gimmick fishing kind of,
Yeah.
the banjo minnow,
Hey,
which I started seeing again.
I love that thing, man.
I
That commercial, dude. I remember real quick story. I know we're probably got to wrap up, but real quick story. I'm 15 years old, freshman basketball game. I wanted the gosh darn banjo minnow so bad, right?
Yeah.
So my mom goes, or it was my mom and my dad, and they go, all right, you score 15 points today, and we'll go get you the banjo minnow. Okay. I scored 25 points, 25 freaking points, and I had no business scoring 25 points, Shane. I just want you to understand. You know how I'm not a big guy. I'm not tall, right?
Yeah.
For a basketball player, freshman,
But
high
you
school.
needed that banjo minnow.
25 points. You're going to give me a banjo minnow. I'm going to go score 25. I'll score whatever the hell you want. Right. Yeah. So you know what? I didn't catch dick on that freaking banjo minnow.
Yeah. Oh, so Matt said he meant having eyes on your tubes. So we went off on a whole different tangent about perch, but I do think having actual eyes on tube jigs, what I have noticed, especially if you're playing the suspended and chase game, is these predator fish do lock in on the eyes.
Yeah.
I will see a lot of the times on live scope if I have a tube down there. If I have a tube down there without eyes, I'll have a fish miss a lot more than if I have a tube or a jig or something down there that has eyes on it. Mm-hmm. They key in on those eyes, and that's where they lock in, and that's what they target to go hit, right? Because a predator is going to take out any kind of predator is going to go for the eyes. It's going to go for the throat, or in this case for fish, the gills, and that's all in the immediate area. So if you have eyes on the tube, that fish is going to lock into those eyes and use it as a point of reference when it comes to ambush. And then Michael said here that the banjo minnow crushed his spirit as a kid.
Oh,
I think the banjo minnow has done more adverse action to fishing than it has good.
Dennis said he's going to put it in the shop. You should, man. You should. It crushed. It did for me too. Like I'd go out there and I'd rig it up just the way it was, and I'd lose it. Right? It's weedless. Yep. You can fish it over weeds. So I see these lily pads or these reeds. I cast it in the reeds, snagged, gone. That stupid little rubber ring that you put on the hook, you put it, snap, gone. Oh man! And my mom and my parents, they even told me, they were like, I told you that was going to be. And my dad's worms, salmon eggs. Eggs and bacon, power bait kind of fisherman. That ain't going to work. That ain't going to catch crap. What do you do? That's a waste of money. I can't believe we're buying you this. I should go buy more salmon eggs and more power bait. I can't believe you're buying this thing. Oh, I got it big time. I'm right there with you, Mike. I'm right there with you.
Yep. Yeah. So that's funny. Well, anyway, we're going to wrap it up because we're almost at like 2 hours, which is great. I love just having random conversations about everything. For those of you who have stuck around this long, I'm going to say thanks. I'm going to do a surprise giveaway. So we're going to do. I want you guys to think of a number between 1 and 15 and post it in the comments. I'm going to go grab a pen and write it down, and who's ever closest.
Here, I'll throw something in there too. I'll be right back. Hold on.
All right. So from 1 to 15, post it in the comments if you're watching. We're going to do a giveaway for you guys that are watching. The closest number without going over the number is going to win. So just a way to say thanks for all you guys that are watching right now.
I thought I had a pack of jigs over there.
So we'll between Matt and I, we'll think of something cool to give away. But if you're watching 1 through 15, go ahead and post it in the comments. Whoever is closest without going over the actual number that I wrote on my hand will win this prize. So I really appreciate you guys sticking around. We've been going on for almost 2 hours talking about a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I'll throw in a pack of my favorite little swim baits.
Perfect.
I got a bunch in the garage.
Okay, so we got we'll let it roll for about 30 more seconds here. We got some close numbers here. No one's hit the number.
No one?
Nope. We'll give it a couple more seconds and I'll let you guess.
So it's
Hey,
got to be
thanks,
close
Matt.
to the number, but not over the number.
Yep. I always like that about stuff, with you don't go over, but you get close like the price is right. You got to get to that dollar.
Right. Right. The price is wrong.
Yeah. Oh man, that was a good movie. All right, so last call. If you're out here, number 1 through 15, we're going to get a nice little prize package here away. For those of you that are watching that are interested in booking a trip, my May is completely gone. April is, I think I have like 3 or 4 days left in April. And then we're looking at probably June. So I have, I think, 4 days off in May, and it's Memorial Day weekend. So I'm gonna be awaiting that 4 days off like no other.
Dude, I bet. Man, that's the one.
Just
I loved guiding. I really did. And I miss this is going to sound stupid, Shane. This is going to sound crazy. I miss the being busy aspect. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
Like the running around with the chicken with your head cut off,
oh yeah,
the anxiety in your gut the night before you're
yep.
driving to your trip,
The 30 alarms you set because you don't want to oversleep.
but you still almost do.
Yeah.
Or you wake up and you got to poop, like you got the poops and you got to
No, that usually happens like when I'm ready to go
yeah.
and I got the clients and then I'm like, yeah, I got to go take care of something. I forgot something in the camper real quick.
Dude, it got to the point where I was getting to the lake. I mean, I did my best to get there an hour ahead of time anyway, because I was, so it was one of those deals. But I was getting there early just so I could be prepared to go to the bathroom before they get there, because I know it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I pulled over on Kenosha Pass a bunch of times to.
Oh yeah, that's the worst. All right, so I'm gonna let you, since no one else guessed, I'm gonna let you guess the number. You won't win, but if you'll get a pat on the back.
1
So I
through
will
15,
say
you said?
there's a couple numbers that are off. There's one number that's off by 1, and they're too high.
One
So I'll
number
give
that's
you that
off
hint.
by 1.
But they're too high.
I'm gonna go.
You don't get to go because you're gone. We'll wait for him to come back. Oh man. Man can't even guess the number.
I said it. Did you hear what I said?
No.
I said 5.
No, it's 11. I don't know if you can. It's the only number that doesn't matter which way I hold it on my hand. It's going to look the same.
Okay.
Jeff Slate is our winner.
Gotcha. Said too high. Okay. Yeah. Whoopsie. All right. Good luck.
I mean, Matt was pretty close. He had 12, but he went over. So Jeff Slate, Jeff, shoot me a message.
Winner chicken dinner.
Shoot me a message, Jeff, and we'll get this. We'll get some little prize packs out to you. And then anybody else that's still watching, hey, you listen to Dumb and Dumber.
Thanks for hanging out with us
for 2 hours. So, but no, in all seriousness, Matt, thanks for coming on. We always have such a great time when we come on, and you'll be doing your show here soon.
Out there with you this year. I always try to make it a point to get out there, but something always screws up the week or the weekend. I try to get out there, so hope I can do it this weekend or this year.
Oh, this weekend?
This weekend.
Sunday.
Yeah, I'm gonna go this weekend.
Sunday.
Summer.
Sunday, Lake Trout at Flaming Gorge.
Yeah, there you go. There's Dennis, Matt, operator error. You're right. He's right, dude. Like it's
bad.
That's how you learn. A lot of times that's how you learn, by making mistakes. And I've learned, I'm pretty smart. I've learned a lot of crap, but I've made a lot of mistakes at the same time. So yeah, right? Thanks for having me on, dude. It's always fun to come on with you. Like I said, I'm starting my show back here, probably in a couple weeks, and you're going to be on that as well. I hope you can come on that anyway.
Yeah, I'm just going to randomly pop in and out like you.
Just
for fun.
I deserve it, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, go check on, if you want to check out anything that I've got going on, go check out Outdoor Ed Fish Camp Hunt. It's on Facebook, Instagram, and the YouTube and the website should be dropping next Friday.
Ooh, there you
So
go.
look for that. Meat and potato educational videos on the YouTube. There's no B-roll and dinks. I don't roll that way.
Is there
So,
donuts?
huh?
Is there donuts?
Oh, there's gonna, of course, dude.
Yeah.
Are you
Okay.
kidding me?
I was checking because I heard meat, potatoes, and then I got worried when I didn't hear
Meat,
anything about.
potatoes, and donuts. There, I'll say it that way.
Yeah.
Meat, potatoes, and donuts on there. A lot of educational stuff and a lot of stuff fishing with kids and me. So yeah, but the website's going to have a lot of clinics and everything that I got going on. I'm running a series of clinics, fishing clinics and stuff like that. So
Perfect. That's really good stuff. I mean, the helping kids out and doing the clinics and stuff like that. They're the future of the sport, and so teaching them, conservation and stuff like that at a young age really helps. When they get older, they understand more
100.
dynamics about what they're doing when they're fishing. So that's some awesome stuff.
100%. Yep. And I love doing it. I take the mindset of like a sports coach, I guess, with anybody who I talk to. I take that mindset of it, foundation, fundamentals, and then conservation's a big part of it too as well. A lot of us don't learn conservation while we are learning how to fish, and I think that's very, very important. So yeah, just like you do. I think it's very, very important. So yeah, thanks for having me on, Shane. I really, really, really
no problem. Hey, thanks, Lonnie. And
Thanks,
so
Lonnie.
hey guys,
Lonnie, good to see you, dude.
Yeah, I was giving up. I was like, man, Lonnie, the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah,
they almost pulled it out too.
Joey B, dude, he's so freaking good.
Yeah, he's something else.
But
think about this real quick.
Joe.
I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but what about the AFC West this year?
Dude,
they stole Devontae, dude.
Hey,
Devontae wanted to go.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm all right with that, and we've talked about it a little bit, but
didn't MVS like go to?
He might go to KC.
That's I heard he went to KC today.
Yeah, I don't know.
So
if
it's like who's Rodgers throwing to, and then there was a report I was reading before the live show came on, that said that the Packers are looking at trading for DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett or both.
Yep, they were. They're going to make some moves, and that's why I was okay with losing Davante Adams, because I think Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback to make his receivers better, as opposed to like having
relying on one dude that equates for 50% of your offensive production.
Dude, I love Davante. I mean, I sound like an Aaron Rodgers apologist right now. I really do, but I think he's that guy. He's that Brady type guy. Brady made all of his receivers better, and I think he's going to do the same thing.
Yep. Yeah. Well, Dennis said, imagine if, I'm guessing he was talking about Joey B, had an offensive line. I
know, Dennis.
I mean, the dude was the most sacked quarterback ever. He was the only quarterback to get sacked, more than 50 times in a year and still make it to the playoffs in the Super Bowl?
And dude, think about this too. So Joey B in his 3 seasons of play, in the last 3 seasons he played football in, okay? One of them, he won a national championship. Tore his ACL, got drafted number 1, but tore his ACL, and then he played in the freaking Super Bowl.
I know he would have
ridiculous.
He would have been the first quarterback in I think NFL history to win a Heisman, a national championship, and a Super Bowl all within 3 years.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's insane.
And it's not like he went to a team that was all ready to go. He went to the Cincinnati freaking Bengals.
No, dude, it's like when you're playing Madden, right? And you put yourself in the game as a quarterback, and then you bring it to the biggest game with just you in Madden with one player. That's literally what he did in real life.
It's ridiculous. And Jamar Chase is something unfreaking believable too.
Yeah, but not bad for a guy whose hands were too small.
He's going to be absolutely insane.
Yep. Yeah, and then Brady came back, and so you got the Goon Squad down there coming back, and then what really shocked me was Deshaun Watson going to the Browns, and then Matt Ryan being traded to Indianapolis.
Dude, the Deshaun Watson stuff. Cleveland's a sorry sack of losers. Like what was that? Cleveland, your factory of sadness or whatever that is. Like,
oh yeah, it's like It's funny because everybody's mad that Deshaun's going over there, but it's like that. I bet he won't even be suspended any games because the NFL's like, oh, dude, you had to go from like the Texans, which are bad, to like the worst. It's either his punishment was, hey, you're going to spend the rest of your days playing for the Lions or the Browns, and he's like, okay, I'll go to the Browns.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah, and Atlanta ate the contract too. $42 million in dead cap space money. So Indianapolis, who's got the most, cap room, made Atlanta. So it's like, what's Atlanta? They signed Marcus Mariota. It's like, all right.
They signed Marcus. Well, they were gonna get Deshaun.
Yeah, they were in the running, and then
they
all of a sudden,
it was them or New Orleans.
Yeah,
and then Cleveland came and just threw all that money at him, and then that's what happened. Can you imagine that? Like, hey, no, I'm not. I don't want to go play for you. I'm not going to go play for your team. And then here's $250 million. Okay, all right.
Yeah, guaranteed money. And here's one better. Like, I know you're worried about you might get suspended this year, but what if we just took $42 million of that and put it in a signing bonus, and then had your base salary of $1 million?
Your floor.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, and he's still got 22 counts that are out there, so there's going to be a civil suit. There's got to be civil suits. You would imagine. And it's crazy. Like the NFL is drunk this year. Yeah. It's just crazy.
Yeah, this has been kind of like a breakout year for the NFL because the NFL's been different for so many years of the owners run the show, whereas you see the NBA and MLB, the players have kind of dictated where they go, what they do. And you've really started to see that kind of change, and especially with wide receivers this year. Tyreek Hill, when I heard that they were, he was going to be traded, I was like, oh man, could you imagine if if the Packers had gotten Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's like, okay, cool. We don't need Devontae. We got Tyreek Hill. This dude will literally run circles around a defender until he gets tired and catch the ball and run for a touchdown.
It's just like, hey, Tyreek, just run as fast as you can down the field, and I'm going to throw the ball to you, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Can you imagine Aaron Rodgers throwing bombs to Tyreek Hill?
It's like Madden. Just do a post route. You're good.
Jeez, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, human joystick. Yeah, so they were talking about that.
But now he goes to Tua. Tua can barely. He's got Tua and Teddy Bridgewater over there in Miami. It's like, what the hell is he going to do over there?
Hey, well, they did sign. Was it Gerard Armstead?
Oh yeah.
Tackle. They did get him down there in Miami, but they had, and this is why I love like watching Pat McAfee's. They have all these guys come on there, and I was looking at the new coach for the Dolphins, and I'm like, who is this dude? Like, do you remember watching the league?
Yeah.
So he's that dude. I can't remember his name, but he's,
You want to say Ruxin or
yes, he's Ruxin, dude.
Yeah.
He's Ruxin from the league.
Yep.
Like, I look at that and I just watch like how he talks, and I'm just like,
dude, I could not believe that guy was a football coach. But then when you hear him kind of sort of talk football, it's like, okay, he knows what the hell he's talking about.
No, yeah, he's very smart. Like, he was on. That was one of my favorite interviews so far this year. Pat McAfee was having him on there.
I watched that whole thing. I watched that one, Brock Lesnar and Vince McMahon. I watched the whole thing.
Oh yeah, Vince McMahon. I was like, what's up with this dude's voice? Like, what happened? He always
talks like that.
I know. It's just weird. It creeps me out. But yeah, Dennis said if Tua can't win now, then he's a bust.
Tua can't win, then he's a bust. I've always thought he was a bust because Bama quarterbacks always turn out to be busts, in my opinion.
Well, Mac Jones is doing all right. Mac Jones was doing all right, and he kind of melted down.
We'll see what he looks like there. I like Mac. I like Mac Jones,
but he doesn't really have an offense
Bill
either.
Belichick's supposed to be offensive coordinator now.
Belichick is?
He's going to be running the plays. That's what I heard.
Oh God,
he's going to be calling plays.
Dude, I just saw they brought Malcolm Butler back because they couldn't figure out how to sign J.C. Jackson, and he went to the Chargers. Man, the Chargers are stacked. Khalil Mack, Bosa, and J.C. Jackson,
and
Derwin James
is that they get hurt.
Yeah,
and then you got that. That's the thing with the Chargers is they got so many people on that defense that get hurt. Derwin James has been hurt his entire NFL career, but he's a hell of a freaking safety.
Yeah, when he's playing. Yeah, and that's what Dennis just said.
I don't think is Ingram still playing? Melvin Ingram, is he on that team still? or did he get leave?
No, they traded him to I think he got, where is he now? I want to say he's at Pittsburgh, either Pittsburgh or he got traded from Pittsburgh to the Chiefs.
He went some. I don't know. I thought I can't remember.
He went to a few places, I thought.
And then Chris Harris Jr. is not going to be anymore.
Melvin Ingram is, I guess, he's a free agent, is what Dennis said. But Dennis, Miami's got Hill, Jalen Waddle, Gesicki, Wilson, and a really good offensive line. So yeah, this is really like put up or shut up for Tua.
For sure. Freaking Tua, man. For sure.
Yeah, Brett, it was fishing talk the last, I don't know, hour and 45 minutes. So you have to go back and watch. But we're at 2 hours, so I do got to get off here because we're about to reach the memory limit here. But we covered all kinds of stuff. We solved all the world's problem. We did.
So go back and listen.
So,
all right, brother.
All right. Have a good night, everybody that's watching. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next week.